Sooner Recruiting and Football News with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000. Or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
I'm feeling spicy this afternoon, Grayson.
Oh, I'm terrified now.
In a good way, to be clear.
Okay.
Maybe it's because I have a long weekend coming up, which, by the way, I'm out tomorrow. Are you prepared to carry this show?
I mean, I've done it twice already. I'll be all right. You forget, I used to host my own show for 2 years.
I suspect there's going to be a segment dedicated to SMU tomorrow.
That will not be the case. Why do you always do this to me?
Oh, you know, man. We all have fun here. Everybody, the great thing about our office is that everybody is the butt of the joke in a cyclical manner. I mentioned this last week. This is true. But the thing I love about our office dynamic is there isn't really one punching bag, although that would be funny in the ref sitcom if there was such a thing. But we all have good fun with each other. You're very popular right now on SMU Twitter. SMU football used your voice in a hype video.
Did you see that?
Yeah, you and Connor showed it to me.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I forgot it. Yeah, they used our segment in a hype video.
We may be getting to the point where we can expand our market reach and expand our listening audience and make this not just the home of Sooner fans, but the home of SMU Mustang fans. Grayson is bridging the gap between the two fan bases as we speak, galvanizing Oklahoma and SMU on behalf of the ref.
I mean, I will say this. There isn't a station down there that is dedicated to SMU. I haven't listened to The Fan or The Ticket in a minute, which are the two sports stations down there in DFW. I wonder how much SMU coverage they actually do. I'm actually very curious about that.
How do we merge SMU and the ref? The Smurf, home of Mustang fans.
The Smurf?
That'll be our second frequency, yes.
The Smurf.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Feels like a natural conglomeration of SMU and ref. Smurf.
I mean, obviously, my first thought went to the Smurfs.
Naturally.
I guess they're blue.
That they are. They've had a lot of success recruiting lately. A lot of success recruiting head-to-head against Oklahoma at that. And heading into OV season, they're still right there in the mix for two of Oklahoma's top targets, uncommitted targets at that are going to OV, most notably Noah Best, the four-star offensive lineman out of Midlothian, Texas, so that'll be a battle worth watching. But the Sooners may get on the board again tomorrow. Starting to feel pretty good about this one, Grayson. So in my absence, you're probably going to have a very natural lead story on Locked In tomorrow.
Yes, we probably will.
Because Oklahoma is definitely the trend right now for four-star defensive lineman Brian Harris out of Mandarin High School in Jacksonville, Florida. This is one in which Oklahoma kind of came I got completely tongue-twisted. Kind of came out of nowhere. They've only had him on campus once. He was in Norman for Future Freaks at the beginning of March. He's going to OV, well, at least tentatively. He's said he's going to only take one OV, and it's to the school that he plans to choose tomorrow. But he is currently scheduled for an OV to Oklahoma June 6th through the 8th. And Todd Bates has done fantastic work here. It's kind of reminiscent of the Trent Wilson recruitment last year, where Trent Wilson went to Penn State over and over and over again, and everybody figured, okay, Penn State, they're the leader in the clubhouse for this guy. They're going to have to screw it up at some point. And then here came Oklahoma out of nowhere behind the efforts of Todd Bates, and they managed to land Wilson after just one campus visit. They're on the verge now of doing much the same thing with Brian Harris. And he's a good football player, man. You turn on the tape, there's a ton to like. 6'4", 290 pounds. Obviously, you expect he's going to play north of 300 at Oklahoma, but he is so good on his feet. The interesting thing about his background is that his mom is Brazilian. And
Yes.
so she's not only Brazilian, but she's like actually from Brazil, like from Rio. And so he grew up playing soccer.
Ooh.
Anytime you got a trench guy that grew up playing soccer, what's the one thing they always have?
Some good feet.
Some great feet. It was the case for Michael Fasusi, who, of course, was a soccer guy. And it's certainly the case for Brian Harris, which leads you to believe, Grayson, that although he's a 4-star right now, he is a 4-star, yes, but you kind of get the sense, right, that he may even outpace that 4-star ranking by the time he gets on a college campus, gets developed, gets the proper coaching, because the athletic profile is so intriguing and so different from what you typically see among the ranks of defensive tackles that there's a lot to get excited about.
There's a lot to get excited about. When I was doing prep for this show, I was reading through Drumbeat, where he talked about Braden Presley. Now, the reason I bring this up is because we still don't know if Oklahoma wants Braden Presley at corner or at safety. Yeah. But one of the things he said is that Venables likes guys that can play multiple positions. And Brian Harris fits into that.
Yep.
Because what do you notice? Brian Harris has a lot of really intriguing tape at defensive tackle, but he also has some at defensive end.
Plays a lot of defensive end.
He plays a ton of defensive end. So depending on what the scheme fit is going to be and also the need, you're talking about a guy who's 6'4", 290. Okay, so 6'4", 290 going into your senior year, you certainly could translate to a tackle in the SEC, but he's got the quickness and the agility to be a real problem at defensive end too.
Well, if you want to go 3-man front.
Exactly.
Right? That's the perfect type of guy
he is
for a
the
role like that.
perfect player for that. Exactly. So, no, this is a guy that if Oklahoma can get him in, they can get ultra creative defensively. Also, not to mention, Blake Gamble found this out, who's running our YouTube stream today. He found this earlier today where Brian Harris put together a social media montage of all the people in his life guessing where he's going to pick to go to school. He's a fun dude. He is a really fun character.
He has an awesome personality. I'm really excited for OU fans to get to experience him. If indeed he commits to OU tomorrow and all of you get the opportunity to get intimately familiar with the person that Brian Harris is, he has a really, really fun personality. One of my absolute favorites that I've ever covered already, and I haven't even been covering him for all that long, but he is electric as a human being. And obviously as a football player, really, really good on tape. I forgot to mention why I'm feeling spicy today.
Yeah, you kind of left us hanging on that one.
I did leave you hanging on that. I'll pay it off. You know what I'm thinking about? Tell me if you think this is a good idea or not. This might be against my better judgment. Because somebody brought it up on the text line. I was like, you know what? That might be a fun idea. How would you feel about taking a call or two next segment?
Okay, we got to lay down some ground rules first because
Okay.
I've thought about doing this. If I ever got the chance.
Ground
to host
rules
the show.
are a necessity, absolutely.
You get 45 seconds to make your point. We can't have calls going on 2-3 minutes long.
I'll give him 60.
Okay.
You have 1 minute.
45, 60 seconds. Make your point, and we'll respond. I think that's a good idea.
Okay, so 60-second clock as soon as you hit the air. That's the stipulation for phone calls. Is that what we're saying?
I think that's great.
I think that's perfectly fair. What if we took next segment and just took 3 calls? Just limited to 3. 3 calls.
Do not start calling in yet, by the way.
Yes, no. We're still about 6 or 7 minutes away from hitting a break. And in the break, that's when you should call.
Yes.
That's when Mr. Pickle here will be able to get on the phone line and line y'all up.
You are one more thing away from getting on my nerves today, Parker Thune.
Blake's cracking up in here.
Of course,
Blake thinks I'm funny.
Pickle, I think, on the text line. By the way, you guys listening on the app, we're resetting the app, so we'll get that fixed here in just a second. We see Pony Grayson on the text line as well.
Oh, you just got to embrace it, man. Got to embrace the Pony Grayson label because it's going to be pretty unshakable at this point.
Interestingly enough, Sooner Steve in Texas on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line says, I listened to the ticket outside of your show, and they broadcast SMU football games, but minimal talk on SMU football.
Yeah, I get the sense that's probably going to change pretty quickly.
I would imagine.
When you go to the college football playoff your very first year in a Power 4 conference, there's a lot more coverage coming your way.
Right. And I grew up listening to the Fan, and I still listen to it when I'm in DFW visiting my parents. They don't really talk too much about it either, from what I know.
I mean, it makes sense.
I mean,
for
it
the
does.
For
No,
the
it does.
longest time, SMU has been an afterthought in a very saturated Dallas sports market.
Yeah.
But you go to the college football playoff, things change. On the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, 405-651-3439. A lot of folks reporting problems with the app.
Yeah, Drake's on that.
Okay, Drake is on top of it. I was about to say, I'm going to have to go run down Drake. If you are having trouble connecting via the app, we are live on YouTube. So this is a really great opportunity for you to tune in via our newest medium, which is the KREF Sports YouTube channel. By the way, I'm watching the SEC Network's coverage of the SEC baseball tournament right now, and I guess Jonah Williams is about to hop on the show on the other side of their commercial break. Jonah Williams and our own Dari Noka on the very same set. Imagine that.
Topher B on the YouTube chat. Brian Harris has the makings to be similar to Jaden Jackson. High-rated high 3 or low 4-star, but ends up a monster once developed. Do you see Brian Harris as a guy that could have Jaden Jackson type impact day one?
See, I don't want to put that on anybody because Jaden Jackson was a freshman All-American. And the way I conceptualize it is if you're a program of Oklahoma's stature nationally and you are recruiting and developing well and you kind of have a roster machine that feeds itself, you don't have to, nor should you, count on guys showing up and being freshman All-Americans. If you get one, great, but that's probably not the expectation you should have or should feel like you have to have. Now, we live in a society of immediate gratification. Instant gratification, I suppose. More so than we ever have before. And so I can't tell you how many folks on the text line and on social media and elsewhere are already writing off guys that have only played college football for a year or two because they haven't popped yet. We talked about Cole Adams on the text line yesterday. Cole Adams has been at Alabama for 2 years, and somebody hit the text line, Cole Adams hadn't done much of anything at Alabama. Well, no crap. He redshirted his first year, as most freshmen at Alabama do. And he got to play a little bit, obviously dealt with injuries last year, but he had 6 catches, contributed quite a bit on special teams. And guess what? That's fine, right? There was a time, and I know we are long past that time, but there was a time in which I feel like it was much more the expectation that guys would get to campus, they would develop behind veterans for a year or two, and then year 3, even year 4, was when it would all come together. There are many great examples of this over the years. One that always springs to mind for me, I guess because I was in college at the same time that he was, and he remains a good friend to this day, but Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas, the defensive lineman out of the Tulsa area, signed as a 4-star prospect with Oklahoma in the 2017 cycle, which was a really good class for Oklahoma. And, he was I think he was an Under Armour All-American. He played in one of those All-American games. It was either the All-American game or the All-American Bowl down in San Antonio. But All-American guy, blue chipper coming in. It took him a while, man. He didn't see the field at all in year 1, barely saw the field in year 2, barely saw the field once again in year 3. It was not until his 4th season at Oklahoma, the COVID-shortened year 2020, that he really started to make plays. But when it came together for Isaiah Thomas, it came together quick. And he went from an afterthought in that defensive line room to a surefire, locked-in starter and a very meaningful contributor for Oklahoma. I think he had 8.5 sacks in 2020. Similar season for him in 2021, and at that point he chose to forego his final year of eligibility and enter the NFL draft and wound up getting selected by the Cleveland Browns in the 7th round. So I take a lot more of a patient approach with guys unless it's abundantly clear that they should be on the field year 1 or year and I understand that there's been that expectation in some people's minds with a guy like P.J. Adibawara. but he's been hurt.
Right.
And so, yes, a healthy PJ, he should be on the field. He should be making an impact. But so many want to write off a guy like that because he hasn't made the impact that you expected him to make through 2 years, completely neglecting the reality that he hasn't been healthy. He hasn't had the chance to be himself. Pesci on the text line says Isaiah Thomas was an Army All-American. There you go.
Yep.
Army All-American out of Tulsa Memorial. Is he the last big-time guy to come out of Tulsa Memorial? Have they had anybody the last few years? I feel like they haven't.
Not that I'm aware of. But going back to Brian Harris, here's what you're looking at the defensive tackle depth chart, though. So Jaden Jackson and Dominic Williams are likely your starters. Behind them, David Stone and Grayson Halton. And then you've got last year's blue-chip recruit on the defensive line, Trent Wilson. Yep. So there's not going to be a whole lot of snaps and opportunity for impact, you would imagine, for Brian Harris in his first year, barring injury.
Well, and I'll tell you, kind of to that point about Isaiah Thomas that I made, another guy that does not get talked about hardly at all in that defensive tackle room that I do think will give Oklahoma something at some point is Marcus Strong. When Oklahoma took Marcus Strong's commitment in the 2023 class, he was very obviously not ready. Not anywhere close. He was a guy that was going to redshirt in year one, probably not play a whole heck of a lot in year two. And then what you'd look for with somebody like that, and you can throw Taylor Wine into that same category, those were year three guys. By year three, you'd hoped you were starting to see something from them. Well, year three is arriving for Marcus Strong. And I tell you, there were plenty of folks remarking on it on Twitter a couple weeks back. I forget who it was. Somebody posted a photo of the entire defensive line room at Oklahoma because they had all just completed a training session together or something, and Marcus Strong just dwarfs everybody else in size. I mean, just dwarfs them. He's a very impressive specimen, and he's had to refine his technique. He's had to reshape his body a little bit. He's had to get ready. I don't know if he is completely ready here in year three, but I think there's a lot of hope that at some point here soon, you're going to start seeing Marcus Strong in that rotation at defensive tackle. A 918 listener asks, what happened to Nigel Smith? Well, Nigel Smith redshirted last year. He's in the midst of a transition right now. He's transitioning from defensive end to defensive tackle. And so that's another guy that, if you see him this fall, if you see him in the rotation, if he's playing a snap here, a snap there, great. But I'm not necessarily operating with that expectation because he is changing positions, and there's a lot that comes with that, most specifically the addition of a lot of mass. He was already in the neighborhood of, 275 pounds, I guess, so he was already a bigger, bulkier defensive end, but you can't play defensive tackle in the SEC at 275 pounds.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you're looking at 20, 25 additional pounds before you're in that conversation. So there's a lot of growth that still needs to happen for Nigel Smith if he's going to make an impact for Oklahoma at defensive tackle. I do expect that he will make an impact at a certain point because he is a supreme athletic specimen, but probably somebody whose role remains minimal in 2025. And if he breaks out, he breaks out. But again, I would caution against having high expectations too early, even for the blue chip recruits like him. In some cases. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. But how about this? We're going to do it. Coming up next, we will take 3 calls. 3 calls via the Riverwind Casino jackpot line, which I'll remind you guys the number if you haven't heard it enough over the years. 405-329-9000. 405-329-9000. Hit the line in the break with whatever questions, whatever opinions you guys would like to weigh in with, and we will hit the Riverwind Casino jackpot line to take 3 and no more than 3 of your calls.
You got 60 seconds to make your point, by the way.
Grayson is very scrupulous about this. 60 seconds, no more than 60 seconds. We look forward to hearing from you on the other side via the Riverwind Casino jackpot line. Keep it here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Memorial Day deals are here at Eskridge Honda. Take $2,500 off MSRP on a new 2025 Ridgeline RTL. Plus, get 1.99% APR. You get both during our Memorial Day deals. at our new location, 89th and I-35, or online at eskridgehonda.com.
2,500 off MSRP on stock number 250624. 1.99% APR for 24 to 36 months. WAC through Honda Financial Services. See dealer for details. Offer ends 5/31/25.
Maybe an astronaut, a teacher, an artist, a world changer. But right now, it's the little moments that will make the big moments possible. The choices you make before, during, and after pregnancy can have a big impact on the rest of your baby's life. Find tips to keep your baby safe and healthy at preparingforalifetime.com. It's more than just one moment. You're preparing for a lifetime.
Beats and Bites Festival is back again at Riverwind Casino, where good grooves and great food are on tap all summer long. Kicking off on June 14th with Josh Turner.
Would you go with me?
And Edwin McCain. Along with crave-worthy eats from local food trucks, there's something for everyone. Get your tickets online or at the box office for just $10. Only at Riverwind Casino.
Why don't we just dance?
That twinge in your knee isn't going to wait until Monday, and neither do we. At Orthostat, we've expanded, so you get better hours, better facilities, and the same great care. Open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. Whether it's sprains, strains, fractures, or joint pain, from knuckles to knees and every joint in between, our same-day, affordable care gets you back to life faster. Visit OuchOrthostat.com to learn more.
Buying a mattress can stress people out. Pushy salespeople, high prices, the whole deal. That's why you need Adam and John Curtis at Mattress by Appointment. They're a father and son team and fellow Okies with locations in Norman and Chickasha. If you're in a hurry and on a budget, they make it simple. Same-day delivery and just $10 down to finance. No gimmicks, no pressure. Just good people helping you sleep better. Call or text 405-956-2161. That's Mattress by Appointment. Family owned, local, and just a call away.
Fowler Automotive is proud to be a part of your community, where our passion and values lie far beyond the showroom. We believe that families, sports, art, and culture are at the heart of every thriving community, and it's important to us that we help build the communities that our dealerships call home. Stop by any of our 6 Oklahoma dealerships to see the Fowler Standard hard at work. We pride ourselves on being friendly, helpful, honest, and fair. This is what drives us every day. Fowler Automotive, a proud partner of OU Athletics.
Illicit fentanyl is the deadliest drug threat that our nation has ever experienced. It has killed hundreds of thousands. Many of its victims didn't even know they were getting fentanyl. Such a tragedy. This is Robert De Niro. One of those tragic deaths was my beautiful grandson, Leo. He was just 19 years old. Fentanyl doesn't care, but you do. Join us in the fight against fentanyl. Find us online at ladrfoundation.org.
Get hurt in the game? We tough it out. Feel exhausted? We push on. Feeling down? We pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. But there are times when bootstraps aren't enough. When stress gets to us and we need to talk to someone about what we're really going through. So we're going to reach out, because sometimes mental health is not a one-person job. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
I genuinely cannot fathom it. What are the odds? For the first time, I believe the very first time, in the 3.5-year history of this show, I decide to open the phone lines to all of you. And it happens to be the one day that here in the office, they have apparently disconnected the phone lines to work on the printers.
I forgot to tell you that there was new stuff being delivered while you and Steely were on.
What?
I just didn't think of it.
What are the odds? Genuinely, what are the odds? After 3.5 years, I finally get a hankering to open the phone lines, and the phone lines are closed.
You know what? We'll do it tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be fun. Get some reaction to Brian Harris's commitment, if indeed it goes in OU's favor.
Or if it doesn't.
And if it doesn't go in OU's favor,
we get the crash outs.
We will have some crash outs, no doubt about it.
By the way, 3-star Yukon Bob on the text line said, I'm on Grayson's side. If I wanted to listen to phone calls, I'd tune into another station. Let me be clear. I love phone calls. The shows move more efficiently when you time limit them. But I love phone calls. Oh, my goodness. I have some crazy phone call stories.
You got some wild radio rednecks up there in Stillwater?
Oh, I've been called a what did I get called? I got called a communist one time. I've been called a communist. I've been called a socialist by callers.
What were you talking about?
We were I remember this like it was yesterday because we were on a remote at a liquor store. And I was sitting right in front of like a bunch of cases of Jose Cuervo. But anyway,
were you 21 yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this was right before I made the move down here, like a couple months before. And we were talking about revenue sharing. When I
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. When I got called a communist, I don't remember what that was for. To this day, I don't remember that one.
Jay in Tulsa on the text line says, the radio gods have spoken. No phone calls. That might just be the verdict. That might be divine intervention. That might be the Lord's way of telling us, nope, you don't need to take phone calls ever on this show. In fact, I think that's what I'm going to interpret it as. So if you want to take phone calls tomorrow while I'm gone, be my guest. I think I'm going to take this as a sign from heaven.
Jimmy Cat on the YouTube chat says, the way you guys talk about them being SMU, you would think that SMU just won the Natty. They snuck into the playoff because the ACC was horrible, got blown out, and then landed some 3 stars. Chill.
Okay, well, yes, be that as it may, like the reason SMU still continues to get brought up here on these airwaves is because we talk about OU recruiting.
Battles. Yeah.
We talk about OU recruiting on this show, and if we're just running it down here, SMU is 4-0 right now, head-to-head against OU in the 2026 cycle. They got Markel Ford over OU. They got Ryan Gilbert over OU.
Yep.
They got Alger Miles over OU. They got Toa Katoa over OU. It is TBD as to whether they will beat out OU for Noah Best and Zach Turner. Those are the last 2 OU-SMU battles that remain undecided. And I do like OU right now for Noah Best and Zach Turner. However, I also liked OU for Ryan Gilbert, and I liked OU for Alger Miles.
A lot.
Made all the sense in the world that SMU got Katoa and Markel Ford. But Ryan Gilbert and Alger Miles at one time were heavy OU leans. And then here came the ponies. TJ Stances, Grayson, if you are a Democrat, you automatically are a communist, much like a Republican is always a Nazi. Yes, we try to stay away from politics on this show, folks.
Y'all are a strange crowd sometimes. Y'all are a very strange crowd.
Brandon Bixby said, whoever called Grayson a communist definitely doesn't have any understanding of communism or any other form of government. Okay, back to football. We'll lock back in here.
You know, this is interesting, though. Going back to the last YouTube comment you read, Jimmy Cat responded again. He said, those are guys who OU can easily replace. If they were guys who OU wanted to go all in for, they would be Sooners.
Yeah, no.
They were going all in, especially for Alger Miles, I'll tell you that.
I can promise you. The people inside the switch, like, were they pretty indifferent about Ryan Gilbert? Yes, to be honest. And I think that's mostly because, as we discussed yesterday, there's not really much of a need right now at cornerback for OU. Like, my tongue is doing one thing and my brain is doing another thing.
Pause.
Oh, boy.
What the hell?
No, Diddy. They very well may take only one cornerback in the 2026 class. If they get Braden Presley, that might be it. If Gentry Williams has a really good year, you may lose him to the NFL, but everybody else can and probably does come back, right? So cornerback is not a position where Oklahoma needs to press the issue. So when Ryan Gilbert wanted to go to SMU, OU really wasn't going to fight him on it. Markel Ford was at the top of the safety board for OU. I think there was a realization, though, that was always kind of a long shot, and Oklahoma was always, while they were high on his list, they never were number one. So it wasn't too much of a shock when he committed there. Oklahoma was all in on Alger Miles, and Oklahoma was all in on Toa Katoa. And SMU won the battle, and credit to them for doing so. And in the years to come, it's yet another major player that you're going to have to worry about in the DFW market when you go down there to recruit blue-chip talent. Slim Brady says, I know anytime Hayes Fawcett includes the word elite, Oklahoma will not be in the graphic. And I know his word doesn't mean much. It's just where Oklahoma recruiting is right now. Oklahoma's got a pretty decent class coming together here, folks. Let's not get it twisted. Yes, they only have 6 commits right now. You wish there were more in terms of quantity, but quantity really doesn't matter until signing day in December. It's quality that does matter. And when you look at the quality, 4 of Oklahoma's 6 commits are blue chippers. The 2 that aren't, Will Conroy, he's a center. I mean, how often are you going to find a 4-star center? There are very few
rarely.
of them. Very few. Generally, true centers top out in high 3-star range, which is where Will Conroy is at right now. And then the other 3-star is Nico Jandro, a guy who is a 3-star in large part, not exclusively, but in large part because he had an injury-plagued junior season. The Sooners and a lot of other programs across the country absolutely love not only Nico, but his twin brother Bo, and think both of them can and potentially will be blue chippers by the end of the cycle. So, please focus not on quantity. The quantity will come around. Focus on the quality. And right now, there is a ton of quality in this class. Slim Brady says, we're in a battle with Tulane and Tulsa. Oh, my gosh.
Is that for Matthew Nelson?
That's for Matthew Nelson.
Yeah.
And look, you're in a battle with Tulane and Tulsa. Let's be clear. That's a battle that Oklahoma should and in all likelihood will win. But you're in a battle with Tulane and Tulsa, not because Tulane and Tulsa have mounted some enormous charge and are all of a sudden recruiting on the same level as you are at the University of Oklahoma, but because
they were the first ones there.
And also because not only has the kid never been to the University of Oklahoma, but he really hasn't been discovered by the Power 4 yet. His only other Power 4 offers right now are Houston and Cincinnati. So that right there, like this is, to me, the quintessential, well, I don't even know what you call it, the Jim Nagy litmus test, if you will. Over the next 7 months, as we see Matthew Nelson's ranking ideally rise, right? As we come to find out what type of recruit he winds up being amongst the realm of national rankings by signing day, we will get quite a bit of data and detail as to how good Jim Nagy and his staff are at recruiting. Well, not just recruiting, but evaluating, identifying under the radar talent, and ultimately, we will not get the final verdict on Matthew Nelson until the conclusion of his career as an Oklahoma Sooner. But, yes, Slim Brady, you're in a battle with Tulane and Tulsa because Nagy and his staff went out of their way to identify a guy that they believe is flying under the national radar right now. I have a future cast in for Oklahoma to land Matthew Nelson. I fully believe that they will. I don't think that's a legitimate battle with Tulane and Tulsa. How often do you see a recruit choose Tulsa over Oklahoma? How often do you see a recruit choose Tulane over Oklahoma? Has it ever happened?
Probably not.
Probably not. It's not a battle. It's not a battle right now. If Oklahoma wants Matthew Nelson, they're going to get Matthew Nelson. So, please come with context if you're going to send a text like that.
Matthew Nelson is also really raw, too. So he's going to be a guy that probably won't draw a whole lot of excitement because there is no day one potential with him.
No, there's not.
There
really isn't.
This would be like a year 3 kind of thing where he popped. By the way, a texter in the 918 says, Parker thing, the multitasker of love, it sounds like. Here I think is an interesting question on our YouTube from Robert. How much of a difference of opinion is there between the so-called front office and coaching? Well, they are the front office and coaching on evaluations and offers. You hear rumblings.
Okay, read that text to me again, just so I can process it.
How much of a difference in opinion is there between the front office and coaching on evaluations and offers?
There are differences of opinion. There are, and there always have been, right? Like it's not an exact science when it comes to evaluation. Different people see different things. Different people prefer and prioritize certain things in their own evaluation process. And so as long as the modern structure of college football personnel evaluation and recruiting has existed, there have been people in the building that have disagreed with other people. That dynamic is not new to the Jim Nagy era at Oklahoma. There are guys that the personnel staff may love and the coaches hate. And there are guys that the coaches may love and the personnel staff is thinking, why on earth are we bothering with this kid? And so that's not necessarily a bad thing. And it's not necessarily something that's going to lead to great friction and irresolvable tension within that building. But if there's a push-pull, ultimately someone's going to win out. As I understand it, the way that it is, given Oklahoma's current structure, is that Jim Nagy kind of has the final authority. If the coaching staff likes a certain guy on tape, they want to offer him, Jim Nagy has to say yes. If the personnel staff likes a certain guy on tape, the coaches are unconvinced, well, Jim Nagy has the veto power to come along and overrule and say, nope, we're going to make a move on this guy.
That is really, really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, look, you have several, if not dozens of people in any given collegiate front office that are watching and evaluating the same tape for the same prospects. And that's been the case for years. And so, again, there are always going to be differences of opinion. And ultimately, someone is always going to have the final say. I think at the University of Oklahoma, it makes sense in most folks' mind. Maybe it doesn't make sense in everyone's mind, given that they perceive the head coach to be the most powerful figure. But it makes sense that your general manager, who spent almost 3 decades in the NFL scouting and evaluating talent, would have the final say on whether you go on a guy. Makes sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, that the structure certainly makes sense. Glenn from Nashville with an excellent poll. The lineup card belongs to Venables, Billy.
Perfect. There you go. There you go, Gunny. I wasn't the one who took us to Moneyball on this show. Somebody else took us there first.
Gunny has something very hilarious on our YouTube chat that I don't know if I want to read.
Does it have to do with the devil's lettuce?
It does not, actually.
Oh, okay.
Pull it up for yourself.
Okay, I will.
And I'll
do that.
And I'll let you decide. If you
405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, which is the only way to reach us today because the phone lines are down. Not that we'd answer your phone call on any given day if you did call anyway. We probably would. We just wouldn't put you on air. Maybe one day. Maybe one day we'll try again. Maybe one other day the Lord will not indicate to us pretty irrefutably that there should be no phone calls taken on this installment of Locked In, but that is not the case today. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. We'll be back with another segment of OU football and Crootin talk on the other side as we wrap up Locked In. Keep it here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
This is Sooner linebacker Kobe McKenzie, and you're listening to The Ref, home of the Sooner fans.
For the professional, it's not enough to just possess knowledge. That's why at GMC, we seek to refine it, to wield its power, to redefine its boundaries, while pushing the limits. And we put this knowledge to the test in every GMC Sierra by engineering each one to outperform your expectations. So you know you're getting precision and durability when you need it most. And that's what makes the GMC Sierra the truck worth knowing. We are professional grade. See your Oklahoma GMC dealers.
The Ref is the home of Sooner fans and is once again your home for chaos. Every game-changing hit.
Long fly ball to left. Track. Whoa. Gone.
Every strikeout.
Got him. Swinging.
Every defensive gem.
He caught it. He caught it.
Watch every game all year. The Ref has you covered.
Catch every Sooner baseball postseason game right here on the Ref and the K-Ref app.
Landmark Fine Homes is a custom home builder in Oklahoma City. Our commitment is to build energy-efficient, custom-quality crafted homes around the metro OKC area. If you are looking to build your first home or last, Landmark Fine Homes is the builder for you. We have many floor plans to choose from, or bring us one that you already have. We have communities throughout the metro, or we will build on your lot. Call 405-347-5991 and let Landmark Fine Homes help turn your dreams into a reality.
It doesn't seem possible, but we're celebrating our 50th anniversary at Markham's Nursery this spring. Back in 1975, our family started our business down on the farm in Washington, Oklahoma. A lot of things have changed since then, but the honest and appreciative way Bill Industries serve their customers hasn't changed a bit. Seasoned gardener or just getting started, we can help make your landscape or garden a success. Come celebrate our 50th with the folks who know how to grow in Oklahoma, Markham's Nursery.
Markham's Nursery, just add the sun.
Looking for a trusted, locally owned and operated roofing company in Oklahoma? Black Thunder Roofing is a top-rated Home Advisor Elite Service Award winner and recipients of multiple Angie Superior Service Awards. They can do it all. Black Thunder also does free inspections and estimates. Locally operated in Norman and Edmond, Black Thunder Roofing serves OKC's metro area south to Purcell, Noble, Blanchard, as well as Yukon, Mustang, Bethany, and Piedmont. Visit blackthunderroofing.com or call 405-473-8028 for your free estimate today.
Looking for a better way to bank? Join OU Federal Credit Union and experience the difference. If you are tired of hidden fees and impersonal service at your big bank, well, you deserve better, and that's what you'll find at OU Federal Credit Union. They offer competitive rates on loans and savings accounts. Plus, they're a local member-owned institution. Join OU Federal Credit Union today and discover the benefits of being a part of a community that cares. Visit OUFCU.com or stop by the branches today. Member savings insured up to $250,000 by NCUA.
Children who have experienced abuse or neglect face a frightening, profound unknown. Courtrooms, foster care, new schools. No child should face these alone. Trained and supported court-appointed special advocates or CASA volunteers advocate in court on behalf of these children. They stay with each child until the case is closed and the child is in a safe, permanent home. Volunteers make a life-changing difference, but more children need our help. Lend your voice and change a child's story today. Learn how you can help right here in your community. Visit southcentralcasa.org.
My name is William Yank. I'm a 23-year-old, three-time leukemia survivor. Leukemia Lymphoma Society was this unforeseen blessing for me because I wouldn't have been able to get CAR T-cell therapy. Ways that I advocate for cancer is probably mostly through my podcast and my Instagram or TikTok. It's so vitally important that we have the Leukemia Lymphoma Society on our side.
To give or get help, visit LLS.org.
(405-651-3439) is the Knibbelmeyer Chevrolet text line here on Locked In. You're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Parker Thune, Grayson, Singleton. The show brought to you by Dorsey Jones GMC out in El Reno. Family-owned and operated, fantastic service advisors, low-pressure sales environment out there, and half-price oil changes on Saturday, so check out Dorsey Jones GMC. Back to the text line here, answering some of y'all's questions. Empire Will asks, how many recruits do y'all think OU is looking to sign in the 2026 class? Well, look, I can give you a number right now, but the reality is that number is going to change. And it's going to change because things are going to change with regard to roster construction and who's expected to enter the portal and who's not, and who's expected to be draft eligible and who's not between now and signing day in December. So, right now, if I had to give you a number, I would say 22 to 24. Pretty standard class size, all in all. That's where Oklahoma's at right now. They're going to go light at cornerback. They're going to go heavy at linebacker. Pretty typical numbers everywhere else, for the most part. But who knows? What happens if, let's say not only does a guy like Jaden Ott really pop off and well, Jaden Ott and Javonte Barnes, I guess you're losing those guys regardless. But let's just say, I don't know, it becomes clear at a certain point in the season that Xavier Robinson is getting out of town. He's transferring. Or Taylor Tatum is packing up and leaving. Or Torrey Blaylock tears an ACL and he's going to be on the shelf for the better part of a year. Well, you may be more inclined to go take an extra running back at that point. So things change, especially once you get into the season. So the ballpark figure I would give you right now is somewhere in the neighborhood of 22 to 24. It may be more, it may be less, just depending on how things go for this Oklahoma roster as we get closer and closer to the 2025 football season and then obviously play it out. Brian in Bixby wants to know, hey, Grayson, why is there still no sign of you anywhere on the KREF website? Management's dogging you?
I mean, I'm not going to speak on that at length. I think that will be changed soon.
Okay.
I have no clue. I'm not. I really don't.
I don't even know if I have a bio on the KREF website either.
Because I don't think they've updated anybody's pictures in like 3 years because you still look like you're 12.
Yes, exactly. So we did those headshots in the fall of 2021.
Were you still in college then?
I was finishing up grad school. So yeah, I would have been 22 at that point. Those headshots are from August of 2021. It's quite a while ago now.
I'm going to say everybody looks different than those headshots now, for the most part.
It's maybe the only time and only context in which you will ever see Steely not wearing a hat.
Not wearing a hat, yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Michael in Marlow, I wonder how many folks are out there that are like this. I don't think this is a terribly prevalent perspective, but it is a perspective worth mentioning. Michael in Marlow says, I used to like to follow high school recruiting. I can honestly say I don't care about high school recruiting in this new era. Some of these texters just blow my mind how worked up they get over a guy that probably won't even finish his career at OU.
Let me throw this at you. What was the number from the first round of the NFL draft? Was it like 24, 25 of the 32 first-round picks started and finished their career at the same school?
Excellent point.
So, even though the transfer portal is a problem, there is upside to sticking around. And I think you saw that with what happened with David Stone a couple of months ago. I think that'll be interesting. Gentry Williams has been here forever.
Yeah, he has. He's going on year 4.
So yeah, like I think there is some validity to it, but I think there is another side of it, especially because here's the thing why you can't ignore it too. Because if you're not getting any high school recruits and you're putting together a team full of, let's loosely call it mercenaries that are jumping from one team to another. If you're putting I'll use a familiar name. If you're putting together a team half full of Denver Harrises, then you actually kind of have a problem with instilling your culture. Mm-hmm. So high school recruiting still does matter. Now, here's the part of this I do agree with him on. I do not get people whose moods are dictated by the decisions of 18-year-olds. That one I do get, Michael.
Look, Michael, if you were a fan of a Group of 5 program, I completely understand why you would have no interest in following recruiting, because everybody at the G5 level understands what the game is these days. I talked to a couple of G5 coaches earlier this week that said, yeah, we'd love to land so-and-so and probably have him for 2 years. But the reality at our level is you have a guy for 2-3 years and he winds up being really good, he's going somewhere in the P4. And so it's got to be incredibly difficult. And I do not envy anybody who is coaching and recruiting at the G5 level because, as one of them told me, he said, you can't miss. You can't miss. You have to evaluate and develop your tail off because your roster is turning over way faster than it is at the Power 4 level. Pretty much everybody that you have that is worth anything will look to land on a P4 roster if you develop them and get the most out of them. And so I understand if you're a fan of a G5 football program and you have absolutely no interest in recruiting, I can't fault you at all for that. But the point Grayson made is a good one. The guys that tend to have the most success are the guys that stay where their feet are planted. That's not without exception.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly not without exception. And you can find, especially at a place like Oklahoma, some very valuable commodities in the transfer portal. John Mateer and Jaden Ott and Deion Burks, all great examples of this phenomenon. And those are 3 guys that are going to factor prominently into the picture for Oklahoma on the offensive side of the ball in 2025. The portal, I hope we get to a point soon where there is some additional structure and regulation, because I don't think the unrestricted free agency nature of the transfer portal as it currently exists is good for the sport. But at Oklahoma, there's always going to be a ton of public interest in recruiting, I think, because, yes, you will land portal additions every single year, and you will likely land in any given offseason 3 or 4 splashy portal additions when you're at a school like Oklahoma. But for the most part, the meat and potatoes of your roster, at least if things are going according to plan, still going to come from the high school ranks. And you'd hope that you're evaluating and developing well enough that you don't have to go to the portal with great regularity to fill the holes on your roster. Kyle from Salisaw says, this era of college football has made me respect the hell out of G5 coaches. They develop this talent for kids to just go P4. Yep. It's pretty much how it is, man. It's a brutal world, because the other thing about it is obviously there is not nearly as much money at the G5 level, so even if you want to keep a guy around, even if you want to make every effort financially to keep a guy around, it's going to come to the detriment of the rest of your roster. For instance, Washington State was ready to pay John Mateer $1 million to stick around and be their quarterback in 2025.
Yeah.
In the neighborhood of $1 million was the number that I was told reliably by multiple sources was on the table for John Mateer at Washington State. You know how much money would have been left for the remainder of Washington State's roster?
Oh, I have
not a whole heck of a lot
no.
at all. And then, of course, if you're in John Mateer's shoes, it's a very simple business decision to leave, because if that much money is going in your bank account, your supporting cast is going to suck.
Yeah. I mean, you have to purge the rest of the roster in that case. I mean, look at what happened with Darian Mensah, who is a fine quarterback, fine talent, but not a whole lot of production. Tulane wasn't going to match what Duke gave him. I mean, so that's the reality that a G4 school or a G5 school, whatever it is, faces. A texter from the 580, who, by the way, it's his first time texting us.
Welcome to the show.
Sticking around is done. Give me softball all day over foolish high school football recruiting. Over it.
Okay, fair enough. Different strokes for different folks. No diddy. Sooner Bump on the text line says, boys, if I already told you this, I apologize, but have a double bypass coming Wednesday at 1. And I said, nope, that's when the senator and old man come on. Going to have to move that time. Parker, when I'm healed up, Bad Daddies again, and bring the pickle pony.
The pickle pony.
So, Sooner Bump, my prayers are with you, sir. Hope that
Amen.
surgery goes successfully and safely for you. And, yes, would very much like to get Bad Daddies with you.
You want to get baddies with him?
Sometimes it's begun happening a lot more frequently. I guess I just need to think slower. Sometimes I just skip a syllable. And then you run into trouble.
That was a pretty critical one.
Because Bad Daddies becomes baddies. Yeah, I'm not going to be out getting baddies with Sooner Bump. You can if you want to. You're still on the open market. At least technically. Are you and this girl actively in a relationship now, or are you still
damn near?
And I quote from back in January, chilling.
No, we're pretty serious about now.
Okay. So there's been some development there.
Yes, there has been.
Watering the bamboo, as Brent Venables would say.
Sure. Yes, we'll go with that. Zach from Guthrie, is No Diddy the new No Homo? Yes. You are way late to that one.
It's the FCC appropriate version of the latter. Glenn from Nashville says, call me a knuckle-dragging mouth breather, but I would give away every other sport OU has to win a national championship in football next year, including softball. Well, Glenn from Nashville,
that's some bold words.
I'm
right
not
there.
going to call you a knuckle-dragging mouth breather, but I know some would. I also know that there are a lot of people that are on the same page with you. And they would make similar concessions. Because 25 years without a national championship in the sport of football at the University of Oklahoma, it wears on folks. I mean, we've gotten the text in so many different forms from people who are of Steely's generation that are starting to wonder if they will ever see another OU football national title in their lifetime. I mean, it's a fair concern. Steely wasn't even 40 yet the last time Oklahoma won a national title.
When you put it that way.
Heck, I was in a cradle at that point. You weren't even born yet. 2000?
No, that was the year before I was born.
Uh-huh. Well, I guess technically January 2001.
10 months before I was born.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess that's going to bring us to our conclusion on today's installment of Locked In. Covered a lot of ground throughout the show. Boy, we have fun every single day during this hour with you here via the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. We're going to turn things over to Teddy Lehman and Tyler McComas for the rush coming up on the other side. For Grayson Singleton, I am Parker Thune. Hey, this show's going to be back same time, same place tomorrow. Bring your questions, bring your comments, bring your opinions. Hey, who knows? The Riverwind Casino jackpot line might actually be open tomorrow. We'll see you then, folks. Everybody take it easy and keep it tuned in right here on The Ref.